The quantum computing frontier is here, and Rigetti Computing is one of the few players with traction. And this is their latest breakthrough we're going to be sharing today, sparking an entirely new potential with their upcoming earnings. And let's break down where this potential lies and how we might be able to capitalize on it. I was feeling a little bit under the weather this morning, and I have no idea what's going on. Maybe it's that we had the fan on and it was cold last night. I don't know. But I still showed up to our live session this morning. It was a tiny bit delayed. But during the session, we quietly revealed a brand new profit calculator. If you want to grab the calculator, it's the first link in the description. And if you ever want to join our daily live trading sessions and surround yourself with like-minded individuals, it's the second link in the description for StockMate. Let's stay on top of the quantum here and see what's going on with Rigetti. So quantum was moving today. You got QBTS up about 1%, IBM's 0.8%. Rigetti's down a little bit, about 0.5%. And then you got IonQ and LAES. I'm going to be quick with the three-part analysis of the market. We're going to go into the analysis of the chart, the news, and the financials. And we'll wrap it up with what we could see here in the near term for Rigetti. So when it comes to Rigetti stock, this morning we saw it sell off after a big push up right at market open. So right here it spiked 6:30 a.m. That's normally when we make our trades, is right around this area, whether we're shorting or we're buying a dip. And it sold off for a few minutes until about 7 a.m. And at $11.81 it bounced, starting to push up. The interesting part is that it's still holding this overall trend that we've seen for the last month here. So there's this trend with Rigetti that it's been holding pretty consistently since basically April. This consistent uptrend. You guys see rising support on Rigetti and breaking above the EMA, that blue line, and acting as a support when it's bullish, and breaking below the EMA and acting as a resistance. That EMA is acting as a resistance when it is bearish. Now it's right at this rising support level. The bullish indication would be that we get more confirmation, wait a little bit possibly, get more confirmation and start to see the momentum continue, and then maybe get to ride a 15 to 20% swing on Rigetti up into this level. And that could be possible with a continued bullish momentum. Now, when it comes to the market of quantum computing, and we're going to get, actually, we'll jump back into the technicals. But with quantum, the market's growing and is expected to grow to $3 to $5 trillion in the next few years. I think it was 2029, according to Microsoft and IBM, which is a tremendous trajectory. I don't know that that's going to be the case. And one thing that we know is that big institutions, so we can look at the holders here on Rigetti, are buying into Rigetti. You have BlackRock, you have Vanguard, State Street. All of the biggest companies are buying Rigetti right now because of the potential that they could have to further the AI boom and be one of the main computational powers for AI. So why do we think the market's going to actually continue to grow? Well, the number one reason I would come to is, like, when you look at Rigetti and the quantum, couple things, they're very tightly knit with a lot of the big tech companies, which we'll talk about in a second. But the other thing is, I was just having a conversation with a friend. We were talking about ChatGPT. We were talking about AI. We had this debate about how it's smarter than humans. I basically was like, yeah, it's smarter in general knowledge, but it's all based on what humans come up with. And it's, yeah, I can connect the dots and come up with these quote unquote new ideas, but the original ideas are all from humans. And so it might be quote unquote, smarter than a human, but I believe that the greatest power still is that human beings can come up with new ideas. And so when it comes to, and that's controversial to some, but when it comes to AI, the other part that people don't like, and they're like, it's smarter than human, it's getting scary, is it's going to use so much data. AI is going to use so much data or so much computing power and energy that people fear for the earth. They fear for the environment. But with Moore's law and this is a very important thing to know, is technology only becomes more and more efficient. Like you could take imagine the first computer, right? The first computer, I mean, we could even look at this quantum computer now, which is like pretty big. Like if you go to their site here and we look at their uh let's say investors, and you see that computer in the background, it looks like it's like 6 feet tall. Right? It's not small. It's pretty big. Look at all the stuff that's going into this thing. And so what happened with the first computers? They were huge. They were the size of this room that I'm in right now. And they used the whole grid of electricity, and it was for like a megabyte of data. Now that's laughable because the computer that I'm doing this recording on right now that's in front of me, or even the phone that's around right here that I have in my hand, can do all that with 1/10,000th of the amount of power. So I don't worry about energy becoming a negative thing in the future. I think that technology will become more and more and more efficient, that it will use less and less energy. When it comes to Rigetti, they're actually on the frontier of that, because while quantum computing it's kind of like advanced in that you have this setup, right? You have the dilution refrigerator, you have the signal chain. This is what it kind of looks like. It's this big thing, and it all comes down to the QPU here, which ironically it's like the perfect fit. It's empty, right? You have this QPU. What is supposed to go there? Well, I believe it's the Majorana chip or something of the sorts that goes inside of that. So a quantum chip. And why is that important? Well, they have partnerships with Microsoft, who developed the new quantum chip from Majorana, AWS, who has their new Ocelot quantum chip. I don't see Google in there, but yeah, I mean, still some big tech there. They got NASA partnerships and what have you. But what are the catalysts? The catalysts are, recently they've had some news come out, and it was just in the last month or so. So they haven't had news like specifically in the last week or something like that. But one thing investors might be looking at is, for example, their new partnerships, new contract that they secured here with this Rigetti granted Air Force Office of Scientific Research Award to further develop breakthrough chip fabrication technology. It's a $5.48 million Rigetti-led consortium, and it's going to include Ohio State University, Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, University of Connecticut, and the list goes on. Essentially, it's them saying, we're going to go into, they just sold one of their Novera to Montana State University, I believe it was, some other universities. They're selling their quantum computer, their 9-qubit Novera. In fact, we can even go buy one. And when they're going out to these research facilities, they're getting studied and they're getting big contracts as a result because of the potential of their technology. So when it comes to their news and what they're coming out with and their new Novera quantum QPU, 9-qubit QPU here, is that they have more contracts coming in with revenue. Why is that important? Well, if we look at the financials with Rigetti, so we get into now the financials. The revenue was down to about 1.47 million. Net income was up there, 42 million. So they missed their revenue, they missed their earnings per share, and they didn't have, like, with the exception of this recent surge they've seen, since this kind of era of like their earnings and everything else, they haven't had a good time. It's been consolidating, if not selling off. They've kind of rallied recently, but that's how it looks. Now, when it comes to the financials, when we're looking at what that means for them, if they sign, $5 million contract there, they could potentially have some more contracts on the horizon. And we know one of them billing, in this last quarter, then having a spike in revenue that is, 3 to 5 million or more could be a really nice stimulus for the stock. And that could be why they've started to see some of that rally kick in. Now, we're looking at them from the balance sheet. They have the runway. They got total assets of over 250 million. So they have the assets to keep going. Their liabilities are at 62 million. So they're in that research stage, but at the same time, they got cash. No doubt about it. In fact, it's increasing year over year by 100%. So they got the cash. And when it comes to the chart, right? So we get into the financials. Look, they were okay last quarter, but with some new contracts from the news that we uncovered, they might have some better financials here in the next one. But then you look at outside of that momentum and being used in AWS and Microsoft and potentially having some more momentum there, they are in this very consistent uptrend. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to follow it perfectly. It's sold off. It has downward momentum right now, and it's trying to hold this EMA and bounce at this rising support. But if it can't bounce at this rising support here, then it's most likely going to break pattern. And the next level at which it could sell down to, excuse me, like I said, not feeling the best day, would be down in this level here, this kind of previous support, previous resistance zone right here around $11. So I would love to see the bullish play here where it does bounce and continue this very consistent trend it's had for the last month. But if for some reason it's not able to continue, then the next level, if it can't hold above this 12 or 11, really $11.50 range, then that next target really could be as low as about $10.50 to $11. So that's the cautionary target. The bullish target, what I would expect right now, actually I don't know because it's not confirming that move. It's kind of in a crucial moment. If it starts to push up and we see that swing start to take place, I would see it as pretty bullish. But if it breaks this pattern and pushes below, let's say 1180 or 1160, even 1150, then that's really targeting that next under $11 range. So again, we'll watch it closely. Long-term positions we're holding, near-term positions just waiting for some confirmation here on the short term. Again, if you guys want to join us live tomorrow at Market Open, we will be there. Should be feeling better. 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to be there, it's happening every morning, Monday through Friday. We go live. We trade in tech, quantum computing, as well as space stocks and the stocks that are powering AI. So those are the types of companies you'd like to invest in, and you like our style of investing and trading. Would love for you guys to get that free t-shirt when you join. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all. If I earned your thumbs up, hit the like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.